Hello everyone, it's Cyber here, and this is Minecraft Snapshot 21W08A. So today we're going to be looking at the new changes here that have occurred into Minecraft here. First things first is that Deep Slate is now the new name for Grimstone, so it is no longer a Grimstone of cobbled polished bricks or tiles are chiseled. They are now Deep Slate and their names for it. Some texture changes has occurred here. It is no longer as contrasted here for the colors, so they're a little bit, they dialed that down so they are a little bit more like grayish than they were black. And still we have the same variants here for the cobbled variants, the polished variants, the bricked variants, and the tiled variants. And they also have added in new like sounds for Deep Slate. I believe it's only for breaking because I think this was the same sound for placing, but I'll just let you listen. But when you break them, a lot more like crunchy noises. So that seems to be all the real changes for Grimstone. It is no longer Grimstone, it's now Deep Slate. Moving on here, we have the ore texture changes. So the ore textures have changed once again. So definitely big texture changes for iron. Iron now does not look anything similar to gold. Gold here looks way more abundant now. It looks like they wanted to change it to be a little bit away from the netherrack variants here. So we got quite a big abundance now of gold in this like texture here. Which makes sense here if you're comparing these two together, since when you would break this compared to normal, this will just drop you the block, this will just drop you nuggets. So overall, technically more gold in this than there is in here, unless obviously if you've not played around with it, if you silk touch this and smelt it down, you will get gold ingots instead of gold nuggets. It's very much more profitable than using a fortune pick on it, I've noticed. But also, we also now have deep slate variants of certain ores. Now we only have the deep slate variants of ores that actually generate in the, well, I assume it's going to be the deep dark, but still hasn't been confirmed that that is the deep dark, unless I'm missing that. But anyway, we have the deep slated gold ore, deep slated iron ore, deep slated diamond ore, and deep slated redstone ore. But before we're going into any more of those here, because we do have an actual experiment set up here for those. So these are going to be the new icons so far. Emeralds did get a change around this time along with a lapis. So those two did get changed. Diamond still remains the same normal diamond texture. A Reddit user actually had found out here that the diamond ore for deep slate and normal is actually off by 1 pixel. Looks like that they shifted it over. When you can kind of look at it here and see that this one has 2 pixel differences, this only has the 1, so it looks like somewhere along the lines that texture file got messed up there. Redstone also did get a little bit change. This seems to be a little bit brighter, a little bit more open, so it's not that lazy angry eye, which kind of saddening, but I still kind of like the new texture for the redstone. And it looks like here that copper, I believe it was just completely like orange, or was it pure green? Now it's got a little mixture of both into it seems. So that's the new ore texture changes here. We do also have another new block here. We have the smooth basalt. Smooth basalt will now be found around the amethyst geodes that will be spawning in the world, and it looks like it's going to be replacing the tough, and tough will be spawning in the lower layers below 0. So yeah, the tough layer has been the amethyst geode has been replaced here with the new smooth basalt. You can so just comparison here. So this is the smooth texture, this is the normal basalt, and this is polished basalt. Now this is how you obtain basalt, the smooth basalt. You take your block of basalt here, you get a little bit of smelting action going on, and it will smelt into smooth basalt. Ta-da! So now we look in here, smooth basalt. Aside from that, we have also had more texture changes here to Blackstone. There was texture tweaks. I'm not too familiar with Blackstone, what it looks like normally here, so if you guys can tell the difference, yeah, here's what the current textures for Blackstones look like. they didn't really specify what got changed or show an image of it. So I'm not too sure. It looks pretty much the same to me. Now, supposedly, the Spore Blossom is supposed to be spewing out particles. Let me double check to make sure my particles are on. Aha, that's why I can't see it. Let's... There we go. So we got the particles now spawning out of it. So, that's the Spore Blossom. What else have we got now? So, the last of the things that we can easily test here is the toughness here between the two blocks. So, we got regular iron ore, and we have a deep slate iron ore. Now, this deep slate is supposed to take longer to mine than the normal iron. So, we'll just do a quick run through and see how fast we can break through all these blocks. Alright, so that was 10 iron ore with a netherite pickaxe on that. Ooh, got some nice crunchy noises. It didn't feel different. Maybe it's because I was using a netherite pickaxe. I could use a use one that is not netherite, so let's go ahead and actually maybe pick out some iron. Maybe with a slower pick we can tell the difference. It's still going at a good speed here. Okay, yeah, definitely you can tell with a slower pick that this is way slower. Okay, so yeah, that's the speed there comparatively with another pickaxe and then a much slower pick of the iron pick. So we'll just toss all that in there, get ourselves back into creative mode. So those are all the visual changes, new blocks that are added in, and what those blocks can do. Our next thing that we should look into is that the ore distribution has changed now compared to last week's here and compared to seeing this new one here. It looks like they smooth out the generations, so it's kind of more going into like straight lines than it was for the juddiness of the other ones, where it would just like burst and like suddenly you have much more ore spawning. But comparatively, compared to the last one here, let me just bring up the old image too. Comparing the two here, looks like we may get more iron out of it the higher we go up here, compared to what it looked like before with the jutting. So having that little like linear progression, then instead of just a step up, here will yield us more ores at different levels than it was previously. Let's see. Just taking a quick look. It doesn't look like much. Looks like to be a more hidden iron change here. So it looks like the rest of the ores looks to be exactly the same. So the iron looks like it occurs in more smaller blobs when it's in the deep slated areas. And diamonds linearly increase as you go down farther, all the way down to y = 64. And it seems to be for reduced air exposure. So guess what we kind of normally see for finding ores in the wild. Barely, like 1 or 2 diamonds are usually exposed for us, and then the rest is all hidden always behind blocks. Let's see. But yeah, not too much, just smoothing out how those ores generates in each of the chunks there. And then they did actually update the text there for being like buried to being no air exposure, so a little bit more explanation on what that means for the lapis. So looks like lapis is consistent through Y56. Actually, I do apologize. Looks to be about Y60 all the way down to a negative Y64 when there's no air exposure to it, that it consistently spawns in that same amount of blob size. But yeah, so that is what we currently have for the ore spawns. Doesn't look like they changed anything for which levels they spawn at, just really more or less smoothed out everything for how they generate in those levels. Alright, what is our next thing we have to look at here now? Looks like here another thing that did change that we can't actually look up right away is that inside the redstone area, that honey blocks and slime blocks are now under the redstone sections. So they're more easily accessible to us since a lot of people are building flying machines and other things of the sort using those blocks there. So they were quite a bit in redstone production. They tweaked the cave sizes. We'll have to go around to see what those sizes look like. I think I was doing a little scouting out earlier that they did look to be a little bit bigger than they were last time. Doesn't look to be too much more than that. So kind of a smaller update here. So let's get ourselves into spectator mode and go look at those caves. So definitely looks to be a little bit bigger. Looks like we have more of the big caves, it looks like, because the last time when we looked into this, that they weren't as frequent, it didn't seem. So it's nice to see that they did get it's decreasing of size, not the spawn rate, because I believe they also changed the spawn rate. But it does look to be a little bit more clustered. Could be the world that I generated last time and the world I generated this time. So they do look to be a little bit bigger and more plentiful. So maybe because they are bigger, they feel more plentiful for it. Looking underground here, seeing all the ores generations here. So we can see the deep slate ores spawning in. Got this world generation. Looks pretty good. Very good. And then we got a mine shaft over here. I did see one earlier. One here. Yeah, okay. So it looks like here, this is, I guess, what they meant by the open air here, because this wasn't spawning like this before. But it looks like that this is actually spawning more constructed. Because usually every time when I would ever see like mine shafts, they're always quite broken when they come out into the open air. Yeah. But yeah, so that's this snapshot in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode there. I'll see you guys in the next one when the next snapshot comes out here in a week's time. And if you guys enjoyed, leave a like. If there's anything I can improve, leave a comment. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!